Paceman, the Interfaith Community Liaison, greeting you on behalf of the Faith Community Working Group. We are one of 3 working groups, all engaged in identifying and bringing together the Eastern and Western faith traditions to better understand and appreciate one another, and then to relate, to connect the various resources for serving the common good here in Montgomery County. For the Faith Community Working Group, this has meant serving as a catalyst in forming the Emergency Preparedness Coalition, working with the Superintendent and Board of Education in developing a town hall meeting, and forging a strategic relationship with the Montgomery County Police Department, together with other departments, commissions, and agencies concerned with public safety. And this will be our particular focus tonight. Namely, the work we've been doing over the past 2 years in partnership with the police. And co-chairs of our Faith Community Working Group will be describing, introducing you at least, to the work that we've been doing together. We've formed some very authentic relationships which are basic to everything else, and I think you'll be impressed with what's already coming as a result of these efforts. The Reverend Dr. Carol Flitt, who is the president of is the ecumenical and interreligious officer for the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, will be the first to present what work is being done with the Faith Leaders Response Team. And then Dr. Hedia Paramati, who is the president of the World Organization for Resource Development and Education, and executive director of the International Cultural Center. We do have a third co-chair, is Rabbi Bach. Is Steinle here yet? I know that she's coming. I don't think she's arrived yet. We work on a regular basis as a steering committee, but her particular responsibilities are in the area of chairing our education committee and planning the friendship picnic that we do together. By the way, this fall it will be on September the 20th with the Human Rights Commission Committee on Hate Violence. Today we're witnessing an escalation in terrorist activity abroad that has serious implications for our region. Speaking for myself, I awaken every morning concerned about the rash of racist activity in our own country, the growth of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, of acts of hate and violence, as well as the engagement of some police in parts of our country, generating distrust, protest, violence, and cynicism. I assume I talk for all of us when I say this is heart-rendering, and a good reason for coming together as we are tonight, across the lines of race, ethnicity, ideology, and faith. We are here focusing on what it means to be developing the best model for community policing that you can find in our country, which by its nature needs to involve all of us. So it's wonderful to see one of you. Some of you are still standing in the background. We do have a few more chairs up here. Please come on up. And while you're doing that, I encourage you to look around at all the beautiful people that have come together from across this wonderfully diverse county. Take a look. Savor it. We have people here representing the Community Action and Human Rights Commissions, of the Black Ministers Conference. It's wonderful to see my fellow liaisons and Bruce Adams, the director of our Office of Community Partnerships. Here's Daniel. Oh, Mimi has arrived and responsible for the Middle East. We have people, of course, from various council offices. Brian from representing Congressman Tucker. Suzanne with Chris Van Hollen. Ken, as usual, with Senator Carter. Many others. About time for me to do all the due introductions. Some others will be coming later in this. So Celeste just introduced herself. She's here representing Congresswoman Donna Edwards. And before you leave, please, nobody leave until we've taken our group picture. Now that's going to be quite a challenge. We have a photographer. Where are you, Chuck? His job is always to be kind of unnoticed, you see. But he always comes at a very wide angle. So before we leave, we'll try to remember to get that picture fit in here. Now in preparation for all that lies ahead, I invite us to a time of prayer. I think it's important when we're taking on the kind of challenge before us tonight that we be reminded we're not alone. The creator and sustainer of all life and love is present, loving us and wanting us to recognize our essential identities as beloved sons and daughters, sisters and brothers of one human family. The first prayer on behalf of those who suffer from acts of prejudice, hate, and violence was shared at our last Faith Community Working Group. We had just finished a troubling conversation related to the implications of what had happened just several days earlier with the tragic killings in Chapel Hill. Rabbi Badia Steiner turned to Gumpo Yese of the KBC Buddhist Temple, sensing that he would perhaps have the right words that could bring us together and connect us with the divine. I have that prayer and invite you to share it with me now. Let us pray. By our effort, may all salient beings be free of suffering. May their minds be filled with the nectar of virtue. In this way, may excuses resulting in suffering be extinguished, and only the light of compassion shine throughout all realms. Amen. The second prayer comes from Hebrew scripture. I've abridged it, substituting the word king with police. It presupposes that the police, like king or elected officials, are filling a divine calling, serving a divine calling to preserve the peace intended by the divine. Beyond seeking to fulfill our own calling as people of faith, we are supposed to be supportive of our public officials when they're fulfilling their call, and critical when they fail to defend the weak, care for the poor, and maintain justice as a prerequisite to peace. I invite us now to share this prayer as people wanting our police officers, and here we can expect that, to be guardians of justice. And as people deeply, deeply grateful for those putting their lives on the line every day and every night, caring for those who have no other helper, and keeping us all safe and secure. So let us pray. Give the police your justice, O God, and your righteousness to your appointed servants. May they meet your people with righteousness and your poor with justice. Let their spirits soar like the eagle, and let the joy abide in every heart. For they deliver the needy when they call, the poor, and those who have no helper. They have pity on the weak and the needy, and save the life of the needy. From oppression and violence they redeem their lives, and precious is their blood in your sight. Amen. It's now my pleasure to introduce the host pastor for tonight's town hall, the Reverend Dr. Haywood Robinson III, pastor of People's Community Baptist Church. That name in itself says a lot, doesn't it? From its very foundation, this congregation and the clergy serving have had a deep appreciation for the balance that needs to occur between parish and community, justice and love, being spiritually grounded and providing a prophetic witness. This is a place where we know we can not just expect the word to be spoken, but that in itself is just what gets people motivated to move on out walking the walk. And so we appreciate your hospitality this evening and look forward to your welcome.
It is my great pleasure and privilege to greet you this evening and to welcome you here to the People's Community Baptist Church. As has already been said, I'm a caseman since its inception in 1978 under the visionary leadership of Pastor T.J. Baltimore. This congregation was established not only with its focal commitment to Christ, but to its connection with community and to collaboration when it comes to addressing the needs within the community. So much so that he found it necessary to establish what we refer to still today as the social action agency within his local church, headed by one of our leaders, Deaconess Jackie Denard. And it's under that umbrella that we continue to the best of our ability, to stay sensitively connected to the needs of those who make up our community, recognizing that's going to mean that we have to interface with people who don't share the same faith that we share, but are subject to the same evils that we're vulnerable to. And so it's our delight to be host tonight and to be host anytime, that we need to help be a site where community can come together, share, communicate, seek resolution to matters, and even carve out patterns of resolving issues in the future. So it's a delight to see so many of our officers present. Why don't you just join me in celebrating them and the great work that our police officers do. And so on behalf of the entire People's Community Baptist Church family, we welcome you, and we have a number of our leaders and members scattered throughout this room. And so we'll be listening and taking notes attentively, happy to be part of the working group and to see how God wants to lead us in doing even greater things together in the days ahead. So I hope that you will feel at home, feel comfortable in this space. In case you don't know already, restrooms are out to the left. As soon as you go out the door, the ladies' room to the left and the men to the right. Elevators are there if you have a need for some reason to go downstairs and move outside of this space. So make yourselves at home. You're welcome here at the People's Community Baptist Church. Let's have all the people of people stand. All the people of people stand. And why don't you join me in putting our hands together to welcome all of our guests. Let's welcome all of our guests.
Thank you so much. I can't resist piggybacking and saying that Robinson, of course, serves on our Faith Community Advisory Council, and some of these parishioners are on our Neighbors in Need Working Group and on our committees related to making Montgomery County a hunger-free zone. And of course, healthcare. You have your own clinic here, but we're also reaching out to people all across. So that's kind of a model example for all of us. And before leaving, I've already met some people who haven't been at any of our functions before. Just know that we'd be very glad to talk with you and sign you up for that. Thank you. Can I help you?
I'm an Episcopal priest living in Potomac and have been actively involved in the Faith Community Working Group for the last couple of years. And it is an honor to come before you as the chair of the Faith Leaders Response Team. I'm going to explain a little bit more about who we are and how we can be of service to people in this county. Montgomery County's Faith Community Working Group is an expanding and evolving partnership initiated by faith leaders with the Montgomery County Police Department and the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, Department of Health and Human Services, and most recently the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service, connecting dots with each of these groups of people who serve us. The Faith Community Working Group is connecting the dots between faith communities all over Montgomery County in order to support one another and to develop a county that welcomes people from all corners of the world and all faith traditions. And as an Episcopal priest living in Montgomery County, I know that Montgomery County residents are fortunate to have such an active, mutually respectful, and cooperative relationship with faith leaders and county agencies, all caring for residents of any religious, ethnic, or racial background. We can thank our county executive, Ike Leggett, for appointing an interfaith community liaison in a unique position to facilitate such collaboration. And tonight we are particularly thankful for Chief Tom Manger to facilitate such collaboration. He and his officers with whom we have developed a trusting and shared responsibility in pursuit of securing a safe and peaceful community. The Faith Community Working Group is a unique partnership that is in place, working, at a time when other communities in the country are struggling to create trust and cooperation. Within the Faith Community Working Group, a dedicated group of faith leaders formed a Faith Leaders Response Team. And several members of this team are here tonight, and I'll have them stand a little bit toward the end of this. We have developed a statement of common purpose that includes our commitment to bear witness to the harmful effects of hate speech, and we seek to help others understand its impact on individuals, groups, and civic life. To witness to and demonstrate through our actions a respectful approach to engaging others while endeavoring to resolve conflicts between individuals, groups, and communities. To prepare ourselves to respond peacefully should any of our faith traditions or individuals of any tradition become victim to hate speech or acts. For example, whenever an act of hate or violence occurs in Montgomery County, the Montgomery County Police Department reports this incident to Reverend Casey Caseman, who contacts the victims and determines if or how the Faith Leaders Response Team could respond in terms of lending encouragement and serving as agents of reconciliation. Those affected by these acts of hate or vandalism are appreciative of the support of the religious community. The Faith Leaders Response Team meets regularly with Assistant Chief Daryl McSwain and Assistant Chief Luther Reynolds, who could not be with us this evening, and most recently with Battalion Chief Stacy Daniels of the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service, all of whom we are very grateful for their commitment and their desire for this ongoing relationship. Another example of the benefit of working together in order to be better prepared to recognize and respond to persons with untreated mental illness within our congregations or those who visit our houses of worship for assistance. Police Officer Scott Davis provided a 3-hour workshop on crisis intervention that 65 faith leaders attended. The Mental Health Association is also planning a free day-long workshop in a couple of weeks this spring for faith leaders on mental health first aid. And last October, the county's Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security provided a 2-day training for 36 faith leaders to be certified as emotional and spiritual care volunteers. We get to wear these really pretty vests. So it was actually a good color for faith leaders. The choice was brown, pink, or purple. And I know that from the faith leaders that purple is much better color than sign of repentance. The ESCV, is what we're now called, will be deployed when there is a mass emergency to serve as active listeners and responders at a scene or in a shelter for those who have lost loved ones or their homes and possessions. Now I'd like to ask the Faith Leaders Response Team and any ESCVs who are here tonight. I think they're seated over here, and there may be some others that have come in and I'm not aware of it. There are 36 of us, so it's quite a large contingent. And the advantage of this is that we are representative of the religious diversity of the county, and we can be acting as faith leaders, but not necessarily from our own tradition. We will meet and talk with anyone of any tradition who needs an active ear, a comfort, someone to guide them through a disturbing situation. So we're all willing to serve whomever is in need of our support. And if you are interested in becoming a part of the Faith Leaders Response Team, please talk to me because we are still looking for some additional representatives. But we have rabbis, Christian clergy, imams, representatives of the Baha'i tradition, the Buddhist tradition, and Sikh tradition. We're still looking for a few Hindus, but any other traditions at all. Please, we're trying to expand our diversity. And so I just want to celebrate this trusting and collaborative relationship that we have with one another and with the police department. I think is what many counties in the country wish they had. Because I know that if there was ever an incident in this county, we would be prepared to be supportive of one another. Thank you.
Usually there's a track like that. Does this take video?
It does. Everybody seems taller than I am. Hi everyone. I'm Heather Miramati and I'm co-chair of the Faith Community Working Group. Thank you all for joining us here this evening. A small housekeeping issue. You may find some surveys on your desk or in the back. If you don't mind filling them out, we'd be most grateful. That's how we constantly are able to improve our program. So if you take a minute to fill them out, that would be great. I'd also like to acknowledge Director Jim Stowe, who just joined us as well from the Office of Human Rights. Very happy to have you. And Ms. Dean Setnane, the Middle East Commission Liaison for the Office of Community Partnerships. And none of this would be possible without the support of Bruce Adams in the Office of Community Partnerships for the county executive. So thank you for joining us. The work of the Faith Community Working Group has special significance to me. I've been involved with law enforcement outreach programs with Muslim communities across the United States, in Europe, and in Asia since 9/11. And I can honestly say we are so fortunate to have a police chief with the courage and vision to allow us to do things a little bit differently here in Montgomery County. Together, we are revolutionizing, no joke, we are revolutionizing community policing by allowing the community to lead. And by creating relationships of trust and respect between us as diverse faith community members, rather than separating ourselves off in silos. Our goal in the Faith Community Working Group has been to tackle some of the really hard issues, whether it's treating the mentally ill, protecting our children from online predators, or understanding the threat of ISIS, united by a shared mission of promoting the common good and preventing harm. I can tell you as a Muslim
Islam in this day and age, it can be difficult to even walk in the mall with my daughter wearing a head cover for fear of how we are perceived. Thousands of Muslims across America worry that their colleagues at work or strangers that they encounter in social gatherings view them with suspicion. Yet I know from the history of our country, we are not the first community to face these challenges and who continue to face these challenges. Whether it's the struggles against disproportionate minority contact with police, the rise of anti-Semitism, or defeating homegrown violent extremism, Muslims want to learn and join hands with our fellow Americans to overcome these challenges together. I hope you will join us in building the bridges of cooperation and friendship across the lines of faith that make us unique, but also as we extend our hand to our county officials as well. By getting involved in the Faith Community Working Group, you can help educate our school system officials about the diversity of faith and culture and race that we represent. You can volunteer for our annual Friendship Picnic where over 1,000 county residents come to share each other's food and music. Or be a resource in the Faith Leaders Response Team that you heard about from Reverend Carol Fleck. Or provide expertise for those involved in the intervention and prevention of violence. You can learn more about our activities by joining our listserv that you can sign up with on the back, reading more about us on the net at theicc.net, or ask any one of us representing the Faith Community Working Group here today for more information. We look forward to working with you in the coming years. Without any further delay, I have a couple of points about our format tonight. I will start by inviting our chief to say a couple of introductory remarks, and then we will take the first 3 comments and questions. First from Jackie Bernard of the Community Action Board and also a member of the People's Baptist Church. And then from Dr. Sahar Khamis, she's a Human Rights Commissioner and an active Faith Community Working Group participant. And then one of our certified emotional spiritual care volunteers and FCWG participant, Sheikh Haji Saab. After those first 3 questions, I will field questions from the audience if you don't mind using the mic in front of you and ask people to line up. And we ask that you keep your questions short just so everybody has a chance who wants to speak to ask a question from the chief. Please join me in welcoming Montgomery County's Chief of Police, Tom Manger.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much for being here. Pastor, thank you. Pastor Robbins has always been very gracious to open his church for events like this, and we're very appreciative. All right, I promise you I'm going to speak for less than a minute and a half, and then I want to really, I'm here to listen to you, and I'm happy to respond to the questions that you have, but I really am here to listen. And the reason you see so many police officers here is because I have asked them to be here so that they can listen as well. I do have one of my assistant chiefs, Russ Hamill, is in the front. I have a lot of staff here, so I'm going to, at the risk of offending all my good folks, I would like there's 5 district commanders here. The 5 district commanders can stand. Just stay standing. If you live in Bethesda, Dave Falcinelli is your man. If you live in Silver Spring, Marcus Jones is your man. If you live in Wheaton and Olney, that area, Laura Lanham is your woman. If you live in Germantown, Commander Dave Gillespie. If you live in Gatesburg, Montgomery Village, Commander Willie Parker Lone. So these are the folks that actually are running their stations, delivering police service. These are all terrific folks. So please get to know them depending on what area you live in. You can sit. All right. Ferguson, the events in Ferguson last August started a lot of conversations, and they accelerated some other conversations that were already in progress. The relationship between the police and the community, use of force, use of deadly force, the militarization of the police, the diversity of your police department, preventing violent extremism, dealing with hate violence, dealing with mental illness in our community, keeping kids safe on the internet, additional topics that I'm happy to listen to you folks and talk about tonight. So with that, I will turn it back over to Hedia and let's get started.
We'd like to invite Jackie. Please, Jackie.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight wearing two hats. I'm a member of the Unity Action Board of Montgomery County, and also I'm a concerned citizen. I would like to introduce the chair of the board of the Community Action, and he just would like to share a little bit about the organization itself. Matthew Green.
Chief, we're glad you're here. First of all, we represent poor people in Montgomery County. We have an 18-member board, people from various faith groups, business groups, fraternal groups, and other interested individuals are on our board. We are a federally mandated board that in Montgomery County to act as an advocate for the poor in Montgomery County. Now, I'm not going to waste your time with a lot of history, but I would say we would appreciate you coming to one of our sessions, and we will certainly give you the appropriate invitation. Particularly one on April the 22nd, and that's for everyone. We have flyers you can see, and that's what we intend to do. We will address those concerns of poor folk in Montgomery County. We started with a forum in Gaithersburg, and all we did was listen. And if you read the flyer, you'll see some of the concerns: childcare, jobs, transportation. Now, my first question to you is simply this: what is the current protocol for police-involved shooting investigations in Montgomery County? Include who investigates, who prosecutes, and how is objectivity maintained with this protocol?
Well, you're jumping right into it, aren't you? The current protocol is that any police-involved shooting that occurs in Montgomery County is investigated by the Montgomery County Police. This is the current protocol. So if it's the Gaithersburg City Police, the Tacoma Park Police, the Rockville City Police, we would investigate their shootings. If one of my officers is involved in a shooting, we investigate our own shooting. So, but just remember that, and I'm going to get back to that. The results of the criminal investigation are turned over to the state's attorney, and he presents those findings to the grand jury, and the grand jury makes a decision on whether the shooting was justified or not, or there's any criminal charges that will come out of the shooting. If we look at what occurred in the process in Ferguson, to say that there is much of the public has lost confidence in that kind of system would be an understatement. And so the state's attorney, myself, have already been in discussions about how we might create a process or put into place a process where people would have more confidence in. And this issue about police departments investigating themselves is a non-starter for many folks in the community. And while I can tell you that we've had shootings just in the 11 years that I've been chief, we've had shootings that have been determined to be justified. We've had shootings that have been determined to be not justified. So I believe the process does work. This is about the confidence that the community has in the process. So I think we do need to look at, are there other agencies, state police or other agencies that can do those kinds of investigations? And do we need to have a special prosecutor versus a state's attorney? These are discussions that are underway already, and I can tell you that I got the message loud and clear and have from forums like this, from talking to folks in the community, and from seeing what's going on nationwide.
So in other words, there's hope.
I want accountability, transparency, and I want the right thing done. So yes.
Thank you.
And I just want to take 1 second to introduce the Community Action Board of Montgomery County. These are the members of the Community Action Board. And introduce yourself, please.
My name is Manger from the Hanifi of America. Just wanted to make a short statement, then have a question. In the name of Allah, the entire merciful, especially merciful, here we are today in this town hall meeting with these great people, these great officers, led by this great Chief Manger. So the Faith Community Working Group, which my organization, Hanifi, is part of, has enjoyed a strategy partnership with the police department in building trust and working on a common mission for providing safety and security for everyone. And I like that word, for everyone. Everybody matters. As a result, we have many meetings and trainings that were organized by the county and with the police. One of them with the Canadians who came here from Canada. And then we had a meeting at the headquarters, and we had shared their experiences with us, with issues such as the youth in Canada, and we had learned a lot. And the next one was the training we had. And as we stated earlier, we had that training to become a chaplain. This is the first time here, I think, in the county. So what it is respond to our belief, because our prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said that every one of us is a leader. And in the day of judgment, every one of us will be questioned about his leadership. So our counter-violent extremism program, which we have in our organization, is part and parcel of our weekly Friday sermons and our school teaching to the youth, especially. Why? As you already know, ISIS is a threat, is a big threat. That's an evil organization who has nothing to do with our religion, Islam. And our main sermon topics nowadays we do in our masjid, in our school, is to talk to people about how they should be very careful about things like ISIS, organizations like ISIS. They just lie to them, try to sell them something that's nothing. Which, when you read the Quran, these acts they do, Allah has cursed them. That He cursed them and tell them that they're going to be, their home is going to be the hellfire. That's why we believe, and that's what we teach our kids. With these, in these endeavors, all these we do, we are badly in need for help, even though we deal with the county, and we need definitely some resources, financial, any kind of resources we can have to better and effectively serve our community, which is a big community, a hidden community, which many of you guys don't know the secret, because some of them, they're even afraid to come here because they know police officers are here, the chief is here. So that's how it is. Most of them, they're not legal, but they're part of this community. And they matter, because I go back to the everyone matters here in the community. So basically, I have one question: how could we help? What kind of resources do you have for organizations like us that for the last 6 years here in the county, working real hard to do what we do, what can we get to better do our work? So basically, I'm going to just stop here with that question. But before I go, I have to acknowledge two people very dear to me, two great leaders, Reverend Casey and Dr. Hadia, who are two leaders. And I want to recognize their leadership and their guidance in the community. In that, I will thank everybody. And thank you, Chief, for making me part of this. And I ask Allah to bless America, to bless this community. And peace be with you, and mercy of Allah be with you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What we need most in this country is education. It is education. It is making people understand the dangers that kids can see, can hear, much of it on the internet. And in order to get that message to children who are very impressionable, who could be influenced by this information that we all agree is not true, and it's not. None of us believe the spoutings of these terrorist organizations. And here's the great thing about this faith working group is because there is no better way to get to every segment of the community than through the faith community. Because I will tell you, and you said it yourself, I can go out and I speak all the time out in the community. I go, any invitation I get, if I can go, I say yes, and I'm there. But there's many folks in your community that will never invite the police to come speak. But they'll invite you, they'll invite Dr. Miramati. And our ability to get into different communities to provide, to have these conversations, to talk about how parents can prevent their children from being influenced by this terrible information that's available to them on any computer, anywhere, in the privacy of their own home. That's the resource that we need to use. That's the resource that's going to help us when we all work together in our own communities to send that message. And that's why I'm so grateful for people like you, for everyone who is part of the faith working group, who are getting that message out to all different faiths, all different communities.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Dr. Khamis, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Sahar Khamis from Department of Communication at University of Maryland. But this evening, I am proud and honored to be representing the Human Rights Commission, which I'm proud to serve on as a commissioner. And I came straight from the airport right here to be with you in this important evening and to acknowledge the work of our chief and the work that's being done in our unique community here in Montgomery County. I prepared a very short statement because Hadea warned me I only have 2 minutes. She said 2 minutes. So I'm like, okay. We are living at a time of unique challenges. There is no question about it, and I don't need to remind you because these challenges are bombarding us day and night through the different media. We are seeing acts of violence, extremism, terrorism, lack of understanding, media stereotypes, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, you name it. But I believe that with unique challenges also comes unique opportunities. And I think the unique opportunities are when we have gatherings and events like that, where we can actually speak our minds openly and freely and express our views without any kind of fear or any kind of inhibition, and to have a different alternative unique model. And the different alternative unique model, which I think we so proudly have here in Montgomery County, is based, in my opinion, on 2 very important pillars. The first pillar is community engagement and community involvement. I think the importance of work of groups like the Faith Community Working Group and ICC, International Community Center, I think these are very, very, very important organizations that are playing a very important role. The International Cultural Center, ICC, under Hadea's leadership, and the Faith Community Working Group under Reverend Casey's leadership. I think very important to have this kind of involvement and this kind of community engagement, which is not the case in so many other communities. We do not see this model of integration, people getting together, talking together, having these types of gatherings, asking questions, waiting for responses. This is very important for the Muslim community to be active participants as both providers and recipients of important services and resources. The second very important pillar, which is connected to the first one, is overcoming the barriers of mistrust, fear, and hostility and suspicion. And this is very important. Let me share with you just quickly here that when the Summit on Countering Violent Extremism was held in the White House, there were whispers in the Muslim community, and sometimes these whispers were expressed in social media, that this is not a good thing, this is really profiling Muslims, this is like putting Muslims in the spotlight, linking them to extremism, and this is like, kind of bringing the FBI as informants in Muslim communities. And my position was like, wait, we are all in the same boat. We are all together in the same boat. Extremism, radicalization is a plague and a disease. It is not confined to the Muslim community. It cross-cuts all boundaries, all different racial, ethnic, and religious groups. But if we are going to fight it, we have to fight it together as a community. We have to be united together as a community, and we have to build a relationship of trust with law enforcement. Because wait a minute, if something bad happens to our Muslim community, who are we going to resort to? Law enforcement. The first thing you're going to do, you're going to reach out to the police. So building a relationship of trust is very, very essential. And when I was talking to Hadea about this, we both said, Montgomery County is different. Montgomery County is unique because our chief of police gets it. So that's why my question to you this evening, Chief, is really, in your opinion, beside the points I mentioned, what else makes our model here in Montgomery County unique? And how can we maintain this type of uniqueness moving forward? And a linked or related question is, what are your expectations from the Muslim community in Montgomery County, and what can we expect from you and your folks in return? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think one of the things, or probably the most unique thing about our countering violent extremism effort in Montgomery County is that it is not law enforcement led, it is community led. We are an active participant, but this is led by the community. It is led by the faith community. And what you described about the pillars of community engagement, community involvement, overcoming trust, overcoming fear, what you just described is community policing. I mean, that's the same pillars we use when we're trying to make sure that we are engaged in a good community policing strategies. It's about community involvement. It's about community engagement. It's about overcoming barriers. And so, but I think that the unique part of what we're doing here is that it's community led. And I think that that's the way that we're going to have success. And I said it before, that's the reason that we're able to get into all segments of the community, because it's not just the police. In fact, we're there as a resource, as help, as an active participant, but it's the community that's leading this effort.
Besides our gatherings and events like this one, are there any other strategies or recommendations that you think would be important to put in place moving forward in order to make this kind of alternative, unique model blossom and become stronger?
I know that Hetty and I have continued to talk about strategies. I think that the intervention work that's being done with individuals, I think that as the effort grows and people grow to trust the effort and understand that this is not about the police identifying people that that could be problems later on. It's about giving help to people that need it. As long as that's the emphasis, all we need to do is just get more folks to buy into it, to trust it, and I think that our efforts will grow that way.
And I think just one last thing, the use of social media, because you mentioned, and I did see, some of the videos produced by ISIS and other groups using social media. I think there should be a counter-narrative using social media as well that kind of spreads this alternative model to a much wider audience in order to counter these types of, negative narratives and serious ones on social media and the internet. Maybe that's something that we can do moving forward, and I'd be happy to help with this effort as much as I can as a communication professor.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now we're happy to field questions in the audience. If you don't mind just lining up here at the mic, please introduce yourself and your affiliation.
Peter Kovac. I'm here primarily as a Montgomery County resident. I'm a retired diplomat, but I'm back in the fray. I was involved with CVE in the Bush administration, and I'm very eager to bring foreign visitors to see this model on the long run. My question is way down in the weeds. It's going to bring the dialogue to a much more brass tacks level, and I apologize to Chief Manger and the other policemen here. They should not be the ones to solely answer this question. It's a Ferguson question. And it's the revelation of, I think, maybe the last few weeks that a kind of bias in law enforcement systems is ticket quotas, court fines, and let's leave the profiling part out of it. In Montgomery County, what is the policy? Are there quotas for tickets? And who gets the money from tickets and court fines?
Okay.
Put it up.
I can say all day long, no, there aren't quotas, and there are going to be people that are skeptical. There are not quotas here, I can tell you that. The money goes to the general fund. It makes no difference. We could write 1,000 tickets a day, we could write 2 tickets a day. It makes no difference in terms of the funding that comes to the police department. I read the report, the day it came out, I read the DOJ report of the Ferguson Police Department. Let's set the shooting aside. I read about the police department. I was appalled, absolutely appalled. And I knew as soon as I read it that the county manager, the judge, and that police chief were not long for their jobs, and they shouldn't have been. With the emails back and forth about, bragging about how many tickets they wrote this month, that is, maybe that's a small town thing. I can tell you that that sort of thing would never, absolutely never happen in Montgomery County.
Thank you very much. I think it's important to clear the air on that.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Dr. Frank Gray, retired administrator. One of the questions I heard young people talking about that you can address is legalization of marijuana.
Say again?
The legalization
of
marijuana.
Yes.
What is the policy in Montgomery County, and how will it be impacted by the proximity to DC where they're talking about legalizing marijuana?
Well, thank you. And boy, we could do a whole night on that, but I won't. First of all, the small amounts in the state of Maryland last year, small amounts of marijuana were decriminalized. I think that's a great step forward. There was no reason for some kid who was 18 or 19 years old who had a little bag of weed to have a criminal record for the rest of their life. That's been fixed, and I think that's a good thing. Everybody has their opinion about legalization, but I will tell you this: there's enough scientific evidence that demonstrates that in a developing brain, that marijuana inhibits brain development for young people. And when I say young people, I'm talking about people 21, 22 years old. Your brain is still developing. For those of you that are 60 years old in here want to smoke a little weed, you're probably not hurting yourself. As long as you don't do it where you're going to get caught. But now I say that in jest, but I will tell you that it is not yet. That's the one thing that they'll show on TV. So for the record, it's illegal. It's not good for anybody, but especially not good for our young people. So I think I'll be interested to see the impact on high school graduation rates and a number of other things in localities where they have legalized it. I think decriminalization of small amounts is the right thing to do. And this year, I think they're going to decriminalize the paraphernalia, which was an issue. But I will tell you, there's enough scientific evidence that I have read that legalization, I think, is the wrong direction. But there's about 50% of the population that would disagree with me. And longer lines.
How are you? My name is Justin Fishbein. I'm a native of Montgomery County. I went to Sherwood High School, and I just wanted to say that I want to thank all of the officers there in the back. I know you are some of the most dedicated public servants, and I want to say that I really appreciate the service and the safety that you provide in this county. I myself am a former public safety communications specialist in Montgomery County. I'm a dispatcher. I'm a dispatcher somewhere else today because I was personally victimized by harassment and, I believe, religious-based attacks within the police department itself. And I would just like to hear you explain why it is that the county has basically done everything in their power to keep me from getting the public records that I'm seeking. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Justin. I know that you've had a lot of requests for information. The county attorneys are handling that. I know that there's been a fair number of requests. I don't know the status of those. That's the county attorney handles all of those requests, and I'm aware that you're not satisfied with the information that you got back. I know they've responded to each request, but if you're not satisfied with the information you have, of course, I know you have legal recourse in the courts. So
I just wanted to point out that the county attorney was kind enough to detail every one of the requests that I've made for the information here. And I haven't counted it up, but I'm assuming it's probably close to 100. And in all that time, all they're willing to produce for me is an email, which I have right here showing from the manager saying Justin is being harassed, period. And I'm just curious, because I know that, for instance, I think Mr. Raskin, who was part of the legislative team in Montgomery County, recently introduced a bill to try to make public information requests, basically have them go to either you're going to release the records or you go to a board. I'm just curious if you've had a chance to review that and what your opinion is on that also.
I have not. I'm not aware of that. I know the only recourse that folks have if they are not satisfied with the response to a FOIA request is to take it to court. That's all I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm the Chaudhary from Amnia Muslim community.
Nice to see you, sir.
Yeah, I'm a veterinarian and I work in NIH. But beside that, I volunteer to the Amnia Muslim community. And this community is 125 years old. And we have millions of people all over the world. They are attached to this community. And I keep saying to everyone that none of them is a terrorist. None of them, not a single person is a terrorist. And why is that? Because we truly believe that we practice the true Islam. And at the same time, we have helped in Sandy, in New York, in New Orleans, in Haiti, and so many other places. And what I'm saying is that, Chief, you are here to enforce the people to come to a good deal. And you can come to our community and you can see that what we can do for the community.
Yes.
And same thing I keep telling to everyone.
Well, I appreciate the invitations that I've gotten, and I've always enjoyed spending time with the community, and I think you're very much preaching to the choir here. I think everyone understands your message, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hello, Chief. It's good to see you again. I'm Debbie Beckler, and my grandchildren, which really I'm closer to being the mother, are Sarah and Jacob Hoggle, who are still missing, September 7th and September 8th. The mother took them. And then you all did get the mother a week later. So she is in what I understand a mental institution. I'd like to speak to mental illness, one thing. And I would like to tell everybody associated with it, make sure that all the children you know, as young as they are, teach them 911 whenever they can, and the phone numbers. As for me, I'm trying to understand why, and I'll direct this to you. I've asked Detective Rubin, who has been in charge, one of the ones, Detective Frank and Detective Rubin, in charge of the investigation, is that correct? Those are the two main ones. Yeah, well, when I talked to Detective Rubin last, I asked him were there any changes from our last meeting, and he said no. And I did direct to him, perhaps you can answer. I understand, we called the FBI, and they said from day one they offered to help, but they were not invited, they were turned down. And then I called the state police 4 times, and they kept saying they have to wait for Montgomery County to invite them to help. So we just took it for granted that with missing children, the FBI and everybody would be involved at that point. And then the other thing would be simply that...
Can you direct your question, please?
Pardon me?
The question, please.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the thing is, I think I'm taking the same amount of time as everybody else, so I'm getting to it. Okay. And then the other thing is questions mainly from my mother. Okay, my mother went from stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease from stress with the children going, and she's also, well, there's just a whole lot going on with her, but at the same time, she calls me every day and she wants to know what is going on. So you're familiar with it, I'm sure, but Detective Rubin, because when I did say, is there a chance that the FBI maybe could have interrogated Catherine Hoggle, the mother, and gotten questions out of her where she put the children? His response to me was, we do the same methods. Is that true that the FBI do? And one other thing, and I'll be finished here, okay? His response to me, and I said, well, where are the children? And he said, well, maybe she put them in a trash bag, put them down the dumpster, and they went through an incinerator. So can you address that, please? Because my mother is still asking every day, because in the prayer it did say, be critical when not defending the weak. And I'm not being critical. I would like the FBI, that's our plea, the FBI to maybe start over again, since in 6 months, Montgomery County has just been searching. They found no dead bodies or anything.
Well, we have been working with the FBI and the state police and every other police agency around. We have, any resources they have, they've offered, we work with them seamlessly. We can talk about this, and if you'd like to talk about it in front of everyone, we can, but I have my chief of detectives right here.
Okay.
And I know he'd be happy to talk to you personally after the meeting, and he can answer all your questions about the investigation.
But the reason she is mentally ill, and that's why I thought it would fit into this,
Right.
if anybody, call Child Protective Services, you know, if something happens. And my thing was, I wrote a letter to her doctor before she got out, and I said, I have a fear for my grandkids. She should go home to her father. And also, if there's some way, you know, that can be overridden whenever the family says it's not safe, and things like this happen. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Benefield. We last met and spoke in November when you came over to my worship community, the Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church, for the Transgender Day of Remembrance service. You are clearly committed to community policing. And I want to say just a word about how I think that looks and feels to the officers on the beat. This is a Baptist church, and this is not my faith tradition, but I understand that Baptists are strong on confession and redemption. So I'm going to do a little confession. Since November, every time I've seen a uniformed police officer, the poor officer has been forced to listen to me talk to him or her about community policing and Chief Tom Manger. And do you know the respect and fear that you inspire in officers throughout Montgomery County? They know that you're not kidding. They know that you are deeply committed and that this organization of police officers in this county are accountable. So they've had a few things to say about you behind your back, but they asked me not to mention their names in this evening. I would like to say a word of appreciation.
Your question, please.
Yes. Okay. You share my belief that Black lives matter, and blue lives matter, and all lives matter.
Absolutely. Every single life matters.
I wanted to give you an easy one.
My name is Raylene Turner. My mother just spoke. My brother, Troy Turner, Sarah and Jacob, were my niece and nephew were saved with us over and over again. I wrote this down. I'm going to try to go through it quickly. Several different people, and even a detective, have called child protective welfare during that time before they went missing. This is leading up to a question on mental illness. Nothing was done. Police came out. They said it was the worst situation they'd ever seen. And then she left. She said she'll mature. I have a daughter her age. She'll mature. And the kids were left there. After that, child protective services were called over and over again. I referred myself to the detective who said that charges should be filed even against her. Child protective welfare came out again. Nothing was done. The police did nothing. she was, and then after that, she was taken in for emergency mental evaluations, not just one release, with full knowledge, even to psychiatrists and the people at the mental institution, that she was very dangerous, even with the children. She was released, sent home with the children. No stipulations or anything, over and over again. She called and talked to me for 2 hours on the phone. Crazy stuff. I think it would make everyone sick in here if I repeated what was said. She was still released and sent home. Mental illness is affecting not only the person, it's affecting the adults, but it's affecting children. I'm going to be approaching 50 soon. I have 2 older children, 2 younger children, and 2 grandchildren. This has changed over the years. Mental illness has changed over the years. We've all watched it, had to go downhill with different things, and a lot more dangerous things come up. And then with having a parent who's already diagnosed with severe mental illness, and medication's not helping a lot. My question is, what is, when encountering the mentally ill, what is the proper procedure for police officers and law enforcement to follow when dealing with mentally ill patients? And then, especially in a situation like that where nothing's done. And then also with the changes over the years in mental health illness and with the severity and, dangers to children these days, what changes are, if any, are in plan? Do you have any changes right now that are taking place? Anything that we should know about? Anything the community can help with? And especially law enforcement? Because one day of training or even a week or a couple hours here and there is not doing it.
Right, and I think that the emphasis, and I'll tell you, this has changed from, I've been a cop for 38 years, and this has really changed from the days when I was on the streets, working complaints. The focus now is to get folks the help they need. I would tell you, it used to be if you had someone who had mental health issues, the focus was, take them to jail, take them home, do something, just get rid of the problem. The focus now is get the person the help that they need. And that, my officers are trained to do that. We have partnerships with Health and Human Services and with non-government healthcare providers. That we have resources now that are partnering with us to make sure that we get folks the help they need. And in fact, what's new is a diversion program that we are looking at, that we're studying and we're looking at piloting, where if we have someone that's committed some minor criminal offense, let's say trespassing, they're someplace where they're not supposed to be, our emphasis will be not to charge that person criminally, but to try and divert them so that they get, and use that leverage to make sure they get the help that they need. So that's the change. That's the change in philosophy that police have in dealing with folks with mental illness. It's one of probably the bigger problems that we have in our community. My cops deal with this every single day, at many times a day, dealing with folks that have mental health issues.
So quickly, not just with her, but with other people, then they're released back to the same situation. And with the police saying, that it's not that bad, or, different things, nothing's being done. It's like there still has to be more being done, because if they're being trained and they know what to do, it's not working right now.
Well, I think that the challenge is to be able to determine which folks are a danger to themselves or others, and which, and you would handle those folks differently than someone who's not really a danger to anyone, and locking them up in jail isn't doing nobody any good. Doesn't do the public any good, doesn't do that person any good, and that's where we're trying to do a better job in terms of, let's just not throw them in jail and get rid of the problem. Let's give them the help that they need. Clearly, there are some folks that are a danger to themselves or others, and we need to make sure that we can do our best to identify those folks and address that appropriately as well.
To the same issue? I'm sorry, because there's a lot of people behind you too.
I understand what I need to be heard.
Okay.
My name is Christy Shoemaker. I'm one of the admin leaders for the search team for Sarah and Jacob Hoggle. My question is, our first weekend, we had a great turnout from the community. Searching police, we had everything. It's been 6 months. We have nothing now. The police told us they were going to go back out in December. I understand the weather got bad. But I want to know, what can we do to get more help from your officers as well as the community? This room is full of people that talk about helping. How can we go about getting more help?
I would say if you want to talk to Chief Hamill, again, he's the Chief of Detectives. He oversees all of our criminal investigations, and I think he can be really a lot more specific with you about what resources we need with this particular case, where we are with the investigation. Believe me, there's no one, our heart goes out to the family. I can tell you that if there was anything that we thought that we could do, that we haven't done, we'd be doing it. But there's always better, there's always ideas, and we continue to talk, it's still a very active investigation, but I think talking to Chief Hamill, he can talk to you more specifically about how we can go about continuing to provide you with information and assistance and how you might be able to help us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jackie, and I am a concerned mom. I am raising an African-American male in Montgomery County, and a few months ago he was profiled, fitting the description of robbing a bank. Luckily, I was there, and being a mom, I went crazy. My question to you is, do you have a program? Well, the fortunate thing was that my son attended a seminar, so he knew how to react in a situation like this. Are there programs, or do you collaborate with Montgomery County schools to have seminars? I wish this seminar had more young children or young adults to hear what's happening in the community. Are there programs, or do you collaborate with Montgomery County schools or local communities to provide seminars for young adults who are being profiled wrongly and sort of teach them how to react or to behave?
Well, yes to part of that question. I mean, we do partner with the NAACP to provide information about what to do when you're stopped by the police, what you can do, what the police can do, what they can't do, the best responses for folks when they encounter the police. We have school resource officers in all of our public high schools, and they do a great job. They teach in social studies classes, and they talk to kids and mentor a lot of kids. I think that's a great education and relationship building program in terms of building trust between the young people and the police. We have what's called a Police Explorer program. That right now it's about 60 to 70 kids who are from ages 14 up to age 20 that are in that program, who once a week meet with the police. For young adults, we have Citizens Police Academy, which is, there's no better way to find out how the police do their job, and really it's a very educational program in terms of what the police do and how we do it. So much of this is just misunderstanding. I can tell you that when a young man walks down the street and a police officer stops and says, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And if they initiate a conversation because there was let's say there was a robbery at McDonald's a block away, and I just want to ask them, you just came from the area of McDonald's, did you see anything? I can tell you there's certain times when that conversation just goes south from the start. You say, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second? Were you up at the McDonald's?" And all of a sudden, folks think they're being profiled, think they're being accused. The officer just wants to have a conversation. So really, it's incumbent on my officers to try and do the best they can to communicate these things and make sure they have the legal foundation to have the appropriate conversations, whether it's stopping to just ask somebody for information, stopping somebody and detaining them because they might fit a description of something that just occurred. These are the kind of situations, 1 by 1, 10 by 10, 100 by 100, 1,000 by 1,000 of them, that people start forming their ideas about how the police treat them and what the police are all about based on these kinds of incidents. So it's incumbent on my cops to make sure that they're treating people with respect, with dignity, and that they're doing things lawfully at all times.
I would love to have those resources. There's someone that I can speak to, or a website that we can go to get this information. I'll speak to someone within the community.
Yes, but we have a lot of information on our website. How old is your son?
He's 17.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's I don't know if he goes to high school in Montgomery County, but there are all kinds of opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
My name is Clarence Stone, and I am here as a member of Christ Congregational Church in Silver Spring. And my question is linked, I think, to the previous question. But as I have looked around this room tonight, I'm struck by the fact that most of the people here are younger than I am, but I see very few people who are teenagers or in their 20s. So I'm wondering, first of all, does the police department, and by the way, I strongly applaud you for your embrace of community policing. So my question is, are there special programs that the police department is doing to link to the young people in the community? Because one of the gaps that I think we struggle with is the intergenerational gap. And so I'm asking that question of you, but it occurs to me that the various commissions and other groups here might well involve young people, even though their brains are still developing. My experience is that those developing brains are sometimes very creative, and that they have insights that the older brains lack. So that's my question to you about.
You know, we have the same challenge that probably every other organization has, and that is how you connect with young folks. And we have gotten, I mean, we are on social media and use it robustly. We do have a number of I think our school resource officer program is probably one of the better ways that we've been able to reach out to large numbers of kids through the high schools. But believe me, I hear you. I hear you, and it is a challenge. I mean, when I invite, you know, when we say we're going to have this group, who typically shows up at the meetings, and my folks and I are at meetings, you know, 2, 3, 4 nights a week. It's the homeowners, it's the folks that are the age of the folks here, no offense, but you know, so you know, maybe we need to get a big name, a musical act or something.
But what I would add just briefly is social media, I'm sure, both of my grandsons assure me that's right, that's an important way of communicating. But I also believe in the old-fashioned face-to-face engagement. And so I think it's really important to find some way of getting young people involved so that they, in turn, can be the links to other young people.
I love face-to-face. When was the last time you saw your grandson's face and it wasn't doing this? I hope you don't have the same problem I have with my children. So I see the tops of their heads.
Yes. I know that pattern. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Willie Benson, a member of the People's Community Baptist Church. I had 2 questions when I came, when I stood in line, and you've addressed both of them. One was about the marijuana legalization, or the, what was the term you used?
Decriminalization.
Right, decriminalization of it. For example, if a young person is stopped, and they have within the legal limits, whatever that happens to be, is there any follow-on in terms of paraphernalia, selling, or how does this work?
Well, it's still illegal to sell, and actually it's not legal to possess it, it's just not a crime anymore, it's a civil infraction if you have less than 10 grams, which is not a lot. And so, but is there any follow-up? No, we have, if an officer writes someone, and it's basically like getting a parking ticket. And you write a citation, you can pay a fine, it's done. Now, if when we stop someone and we find that they've got 5 pounds of marijuana in their trunk, then that will prompt a criminal investigation. But somebody who's got a little bag, they may or may not get a ticket. That's the worst that'll happen to them, is they get a citation and they pay a fine.
And the other question I had was about the profiling or the stopping of individuals. How would a scenario play out if an officer walks up to an individual who has not committed any crime and say, I want to search you? Is that legal, and can the person refuse?
Yes, an officer can ask someone, do you mind if I search you? If they have no legal foundation to stop that person or to search that person, then if the person says, no, I don't want to be searched, they should be allowed to go on their way. If they have some legal foundation to detain someone, and I'll give you an example. Again, there's the robbery at the McDonald's that happened a block away, and they said that it's an African-American man, he's wearing glasses, he's got dark pants on, dark shoes, dark shirt, wearing glasses, and he's got kind of a salt and pepper goatee. That's the description they've just given me, all right? I'm walking toward the McDonald's. You're a block away. I stopped you. I said, sir, can I speak with you for a moment? Now, at that point, I have enough reasonable suspicion that you might have been involved. Now, let's, for the sake of argument, say you had nothing to do with that robbery. Okay? You just have me walking down the street. So you know you've done nothing wrong. But I have enough legal foundation based on that description that I have enough reasonable suspicion to stop you. And I can at that point I can talk to you, and you can decide whether you want to answer my question or not. You have the right to remain silent. And I can at that point, if they say, let's say the person had a gun, I can pat you down for a gun. That's what I have the legal foundation to do. Now I can tell you, there's a lot of folks. And let's say that occurred, and let's say while I've just patted you down, and I just hear on the radio they said, "Hey, we got the suspect. He's someplace else." So I say to you, Mr. Vincent, thanks for your cooperation. I appreciate it. And I now race to where they've got the guy in custody. You will tell that story for the rest of your life, that you were profiled, that the police accused you of being an armed robber, and you will not be happy about that interaction. I get that. I understand that. But the fact is that what I just described was an absolutely legal interaction. Now, this is where the best we can do, the best the police can do, is say, Mr. Vincent, you match the description of a guy who just robbed the McDonald's, but they just caught the guy. I apologize for any inconvenience, and then I got to go. Now, if that's not good enough, then, and that's what we're faced with every day, things like that. Now, here's the important issue. If you assume all the facts I just explained to you are true, that's a legal foundation. Now, let's say they just say there was a robbery at the McDonald's. I won't belabor this. There's a robbery at the McDonald's, and it was an African-American man. That's all I got. Do you think I have a reasonable suspicion to stop every black man that comes walking away from that area? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And this is where some police officers make the mistake, because they don't have a reasonable suspicion, yet they'll stop somebody and start asking them questions. And again, those are the kinds of interactions that create problems later on.
So basically, the response to and the teaching to young folk would be it's respectful and accountable. You know what? It should be a respectful and accountable on both ends.
Exactly. And even if I've got all I get that description that describes you to a T, and I'm thinking this guy might be it. I still should be treating you with respect and dignity. And again, when it ends and I find that you're not involved, there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, Mr. Vincent, I'm sorry for any inconvenience.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Catherine Torrance. I'm also a member here. I'm here with my 16-year-old son, who's going to get his driver's license, and he can tell you exactly how many days.
Oh, God bless you.
But in a couple of weeks. And I guess my reason for bringing him here tonight is because in reality, he will be stopped by the police, more than likely. He's not allowed to have any of his friends in the vehicle for that very reason. And all these other, I guess, conversations we as parents have to have with our kids. A lot of it was answered by what you've said so far. But even at that, I think it needs to go a step further as far as how to explain to them the fact that it's so subjective what you can do in order to pull them over, take them out, search them, ask them questions. How to respond is true. They do need to know that. I guess it's just so subjective. It's kind of hard for us to prepare our sons
for that type of situation. I mean, we see it every day coming home from school. I always point out to him, you see those kids sitting on the side of the road. And of course, some of them are going to be arrested, some of them are illegal, but some are just innocent, you know, kids trying to get back and forth to school, football practice, whatever. So I guess my question is, what kind of conversation can you kind of briefly give an explanation to him, since he's here tonight, that would help us?
Well, not having anybody in the car with him is a great first step. And you said it's because, well, for whatever reason, because the worst thing for any new driver is distractions.
Oh, definitely. Well,
and so anything to take away distractions is a step forward. I would encourage, at 16, Laura, can they do ride-alongs at 16? Yes. You know what I would encourage? Well, I would encourage him to do a ride-along with a police officer. And I will tell you that he will learn how cops, when they're driving down the street, how they decide who they're going to stop and who they don't. Because and I would encourage anybody in here to do that. Because I will tell you that what you will learn is that over 50% of the time, when an officer sees some violation that they're going to stop someone, they have no idea if it's a man, a woman, you know, anything about it, because they're tinted windows or because they're behind. They just don't know who they're stopping until they walk up. I can say that all day long, and people will be skeptical. Ride with a police officer. I would give him the advice of riding with a police officer so that he can get an idea of what police officers are thinking when they stop somebody. And then the same, and I realize there's different issues that we have. I mean, my son is getting, you know, within a couple of years getting his license. And believe me, I've had to talk with him about, you know, if he encounters the police, how to behave, that sort of thing. It's a different situation. I know that folks in the African American community feel like, you know, that my child, who's Caucasian, doesn't have to deal with the same things. But I will tell you that the way he responds, the way he talks to adults, people in authority, I have those conversations with him all the time. And I think it's important because there's no sense in escalating situations unnecessarily. But knowing what folks, you know, knowing people's rights, and I'll tell you the first thing he should do if he gets stopped is, if he's got a phone, is to call one of his parents and say, being stopped. Huh?
Oh, that'd be good.
Or maybe not. But do the ride. Have him do the ride.
Good evening. My name is Nomvuyo Kubeka. First, I really would like to thank my pastor, who is a teacher who truly belongs in the village and teaches us as peoples to be part of a village. I looked around and I truly am convinced about your police department. When I see people like me, I know you're doing the right thing. In the Xhosa language, we say, Umtu ngumtu ngabantu. We are because you are. My story about my then teenager was that in the excitement of having his learner's permit, while I was napping, he took the car and drove around. When I heard the knock on the door and I saw a Caucasian police officer, you know what was going on in my head. But this police officer happened to be a Montgomery County police officer who just looked at me and said, "Ma'am, there he is, I've already spoken to him." So, I mean, I stand here to commend you. And the fact that you say that whenever the community calls you, you are there. So you are a man of your conviction. And I truly thank you for that. But the question I have is, since you are such a model for a police force, how are you reaching out to police forces such as Ferguson as peers who perhaps can change their mindset? Because when it happened in Ferguson, there are those of us who went, to rally, but could you have gone out, as one that's doing such a terrific job as a member of a community such as ours, to give, that kind of peer encouragement or, example?
I'm part of two very active organizations, the Major City Chiefs Association, which is an association of the largest 70 police departments in the United States. I'm the president of that organization. I'm also the vice president of the Police Executive Research Forum, which is probably the most progressive think tank for law enforcement in the country. Both of those organizations sent police chiefs to Ferguson to try and assist them in terms of just telling them where they went wrong, to be blunt about it. I mean, there was just mistake after mistake after mistake that was made in terms of their handling of the shooting investigation, in terms of the handling of the protests afterward, the release of information, all of those things. It was just, and so we have been there to offer advice, our counsel, our help, and I will tell you that most larger police agencies are progressive enough to understand and try and avoid some of those mistakes. And I appreciate your kind words about this police department, but make no mistake, we make mistakes. I've got almost 2,000 employees. We do make mistakes. And when we make the mistakes, it's how we handle that, how we address those mistakes that I think speaks to what kind of police department we are. So, but makes no mistake, while I think that we have a lot of model policies, and I'm very proud of the training that we do, and very proud of the people we hire, believe me, I still am, most of my day is occupied with trying to fix problems and fix issues and deal with complaints.
I thank you, and I truly thank God for this opportunity, and Jesus being my Savior. I truly thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Chief Manger. My name is Chris Barclay. I'm a member of the Board of Education here. Pastor Robinson, great to see you. A couple of questions. You started to talk about the school resource officers, so I'll try and not make long statements, but get to questions. We all know about the school to prison pipeline. We're real concerned about young people who get suspended. Their time out of school many times puts them in contact and continually dealing with law enforcement. I wanted to ask a little bit about the school resource officer program, and kind of understand and help folks understand what the goals are for that program, and also then the training that police officers get, and what police officers are chosen to be SROs, to be in that school environment, to be with young people between the ages of like 15 and 18, right? And do they get diversity training? Then also, do we have statistics on the number of arrests that happen in our schools? And have we seen an increase in arrest with school resource officers, or a decrease in what is happening there, and who has access to those statistics?
Thank you. And we actually just went before the county council in a public safety hearing, a public safety committee meeting, to talk specifically about these issues. And so I had right in front of me all of the numbers of arrests that we made all of last year during the school year that the school resource officers made. We've got, but let me start with the training. Not every police officer, not every person is suited to deal with high school age kids. And I would tell you that I personally would not have made, especially when I was in my 20s, I probably could do it now, but I would not have been a very good school resource officer when I was in my 20s and 30s. And so we make sure that we're selecting the right people. We give them the right training, and it's coaching training, it's mentoring training. You know, and I appreciate you asking the questions, but I know you know the answer to a lot of the questions you just gave me. As a member of the Board of Education, you understand that the primary purpose to have a school resource officer in the schools is to provide for a safe learning environment. It's not law enforcement. And in fact, that is borne out by, if you look at the number of arrests that we make each year, it is minuscule In fact, if we have a police officer that makes maybe a half a dozen arrests, maybe over the entire school year, they're having thousands of contacts with kids on a weekly basis. And you know, the average is probably around 5-6 arrests per year in each high school. And if you look at the kinds of cases, it's ones where the officer really didn't have a choice. It was something fairly serious. The officers are in there as mentors, as coaches, as to assist with, teaching in different classes. They understand that the real benefit of having that officer in the school is developing those relationships with the kids. And I'll tell you, it helps out because when something happens out in the community, more often than not, one of these kids comes to the cop and says, hey, listen, I don't want to see this continue, and they'll provide us information that helps us deal with some of the crime that's going on out in the community. So I think the program is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's not to lock kids up in schools. And the school board is doing the right thing in terms of looking at the suspension issue and in-school suspension versus out-of-school suspension. But that we are right there with you, and trying to partner doing what's best for the kids.
Let me just do one quick thing. I know there have been instances, unique, but where young people have been tased in the schools because of whatever may have gone on. Can you kind of speak to when an officer has to use their taser in a school environment?
It's been very seldom, but it has happened. And typically it's when you've got someone who is I would describe it as out of control. And having been in a fair number of fights during my career, I can tell you that if you are relying on your baton, or you're relying on pepper spray, or just wrestling around on the floor, a lot of people get hurt, and a lot of people end up going to the hospital in those kinds of situations. The taser, if it's deployed appropriately, typically ends it like that, and aside from having two little barbs that you have to get pulled out, that's it. Nobody's hurt, and things get solved very quickly. So, but that assumes that my officers are using it appropriately, and I can tell you, we look at every one of those deployments, and I have confidence in my officers.
Sir, it's 8:45. So do you want to do, we have 5 more guests, do you want to do like a lightning round? Have everybody say
I
their
want to
question?
listen to all
Each one
5
individually?
minutes.
Please, we're a little bit over schedule, but
And especially my friend, Mrs. Shannon, I need to have to listen to her. I can tell you that.
Thank you. I'm Augusta Shannon, and I'm a 50-year resident of Montgomery County. And I think, as I look around, this is probably the most beautiful audience that I've ever seen. And it's a microcosm of the new Montgomery County. And what I'd like to ask you is, what preparation are you giving your officers to deal with the diversity in Montgomery County now?
Well, thank you. And Odessa is the former executive director of the Human Rights Commission, and a lot of other things. And I will tell you that we do give officers training in terms of identifying bias. Anybody in here that has no bias in them, raise their hand. No hands better go up. But how to make sure that your biases aren't influencing, and my cops, the way they do their job. That's important training to have, discussions to have. But I'll tell you the key is not, you can train anybody to be a police officer. We got to hire the right people in the first place. You can't, I can train someone how to write a report, train someone how to deal with, investigate a crime and all these kinds of things. What I can't do is make someone have empathy or make someone have compassion. And so we've got to identify those qualities that we believe would make a good police officer first. And hire those people. The ones that want to become cops because they're going to walk around like this, and I got this authority. No, those are the last ones you want to hire as police officers. So we're trying to identify the right people to hire, and then we'll give them the training that they need to be good police officers. Thank you.
My name's Mark Hoffman. I'm here as a private citizen, but there are a number of my neighbors who are kind of following this. I'm a little frustrated. You can help. The general question is, how does a private citizen propose an innovation to the police department? So here's what happened. 4 months ago, I sent an email. The person, like 3 weeks later, I said, what's happening? Oh, pass me on to somebody else. Pass me on to somebody else. So the 5th person whom I got passed on to, I finally talked to last week. She didn't really understand it. But I asked her the question. I said, do you have the authority to champion this idea or authorize working about this idea? And she said, no. I said, who does? Chief Manger.
Oh, I'm sure I
So
do.
here I am. So the first question is, how do, did I do the right thing? How would I do it? The second, I would like to ask you if sometime at your convenience, just a few minutes of your time.
Yes, absolutely, and I'll talk to you after the meeting. If you can stay, if you have time to stick around, I'll talk to you after the meeting. Great.
In general, how does a private citizen make that proposal?
I like email. I'm actually pretty much of an introvert, so I love emails. And I answer every single one of them. Now, the answer might be, I'm passing you off to this person who will help you. But I will tell you, when I do that, I make sure that you get a response. But let's talk after, if you have time.
Manger. My name is Melissa Butts, and I'm a proud citizen of Montgomery County. I don't know if you recognize my name, or I'm going to have some horrific pictures to show. But my question is, you mentioned protect and serve and respect, dignity, and that your officers are lawful at all times. What is it that you do to help quality assurance with your officers when you have a complaint, such as police brutality that landed me in the hospital with a concussion, 16 staples. The officer's been, we look at racial profiling, and granted, you may see the color of my skin being Caucasian. I was married to a man from another culture. When this officer arrested me, I refused to take a breath analyzer. I was going through a bitter divorce. He made comments referring to Africa, for me to go to Africa, ride elephants. He made comments regarding his privates. It was totally inappropriate. When my husband realized there was a lawsuit, what Montgomery County had done, that his intentions, what he had tried to do by calling the police did not work. 3 days after I got out of the hospital, that police officer went and pressed charges against me, saying that I attacked him going up the stairs. When we went to the precinct, Chief Manger, there wasn't any pictures, any cameras that you're actually able to witness what went on downstairs. This officer, actually, I think I recognize him here in this audience, has a history in our neighborhood. At that time, it was predominantly integrated, probably still is. It's a problematic neighborhood where I resided at. But what is it that you guys do for quality assurance? In your precincts, when you bring someone down to your precinct, or the cameras, like this officer, I was beaten. I was literally beaten outside my home, as well as in the precinct, because I knew my rights. And so when I try to serve this, I'm now dealing with cancer, and I'm going through some other stuff. And thank God for the Montgomery County Coalition for the Homeless and Stepping Stones, who was there for me and my family when we were put out going through all of this, trying to pay for legal fees against Montgomery County. You guys have placed that officer on administrative leave knowing he was going to be served. And so how is it that a citizen cannot, because Montgomery County is trying to get it dropped because he hasn't been served, how is it that you can go about that? How is it that we can feel protected and served when we have an officer that's out there who's very militant, very racist? He's a Caucasian police officer, and totally biased.
Well, I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting as well about this, but one of the things that we're looking to do is to pilot a body-worn camera program. And I can tell you that there's a lot of folks in this community that don't trust police officers, and I think that one of the lessons learned that came out of Ferguson was that people will only believe what they see. Mm-hmm. And so I think that cameras, I made sure we had cameras in our patrol cars for traffic stops. We started that years ago, and our next step is to look at the body-worn camera program where every police officer, including me, will be wearing a camera as we do our job.
And how about your precincts? You don't have that device installed where you're able to go back for quality assurance and see what interaction transpired between your officers and the individual? Is there anything in place for that?
There are cameras in some of our stations, but they're not everywhere. And like I said, if we can talk about more in detail afterward, I'm happy to address this.
All right, thank you for your time.
Good evening, how are you? My name is Lisa Jackson, and I am the regional manager for Girl Scouts in this area. I cover from Olney to Kensington to Durwood to Burtonsville and Silver Spring. So I want to take you up on your offer for outreach, and I am a member of People's Community Baptist Church. I also love my pastor. So I'd like to see if you couldn't partner with Girl Scouts to see if we couldn't have a community awareness program for our Girl Scouts. More than willing to work with you to see if we could come up with a police awareness badge, because I don't think Girl Scouts has that. And we would be the first in Montgomery County to champion that. And it also is Girl Scout cookie season time. So that's a plug for me to buy cookies. My girls are out there selling tonight. But I would have someone, I will work with Pastor Robinson, I will work with Jackie, and we can host it right here and do an outreach to make girls aware of the relationship.
Absolutely. My daughter's a Girl Scout. I love the program. Laura, can you
Who's
talk
going to raise their hand? I got
Commander
you.
Lamb.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexa Fraser, and I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring. I'm also a seminarian, and I want to thank you for being here all the way to the end. That's so lovely of you. I was recently driving down Georgia Avenue, and I saw a police stop which involved the police pulling a gun on somebody in a car. I felt that I had no reason to think that they weren't doing their job appropriately. It was unfortunate. It was rush hour with a lot of cars around. And a citizen pulled their cell phone out and they were videotaping from their cell phone. And my impression was that everybody, probably other than the person in the car who was pulled over, was doing their job. And I'm just wondering what your message to your officers is in a situation like that where a member of a community pulls out their cell phone.
You better be doing your job the way it's supposed to be done. This is every day, all the time. I mean, I can't tell you how many times when I'm talking to somebody, just see somebody doing this. It is legal to do that, as long as they're not interfering with what the officer's doing. And I told my cops, you better get used to it, because it's the way of the world now. And the fact is, if you're doing your job the way it's supposed to be done, you should have no worries about it.
Thank you.
This evening. And I'd also like to introduce our co-chair, Rabbi Gatia Steinlauf from the Jewish Community Relations Council. And then I'll let Reverend Kriegman close for us this evening. Thank you.
Is the Reverend Dr. Laverne Wilson McLaughlin with us? Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I missed seeing you earlier this evening. So we're pleased to have her coming to offer closing benediction, following which I will invite everyone to come on up. We're still after that group picture. It's going to be a little fun, isn't it? With the tall people in the back, the rest out. Thank you.
Greetings to each one of you, and as we prepare to leave, will you join me in these words? We come before the power that guides us all. We recognize that our differences are your design. Grant us your wisdom to ask the tough questions and also the patience to wait with hope and expectation for your answer. Make each of us thirsty for the awareness and needs of our neighbor. Lessen the mistrust, fear, and suspicion as we commit to resolve our challenges with each other. Strengthen, embolden, oh God. Provide the insight to walk through the daily demands of relationship. Bless us, help us, heal us. In the name of Almighty, amen.
Thank you, everyone, for the gift of your presence, for all the questions, for everyone that's come. As you come up now for this grand group picture, I might reach out to someone you haven't met before and say hello, and let's enjoy this little refreshment left over here at the table.